I'm starting my holiday baking. It's Sunday afternoon, and we were thinking we'd change Thanksgiving because we weren't sure if everybody was going to be able to make it, and so we were going to do it on Saturday instead of Thursday, and now it's been put back to Thursday, so I have to get started. And one of my favorite things to make is pie crust. I don't know why, because I never seem to be successful every time. But I think it's, well, I do know why. It's because it's dough, which reminds me of clay. I'll be right back. I'm going to run and get my 1 cup measuring cup. Maybe. Can't find it. That's odd. I'm still not sure where everything is here, so I did measure it once, so we'll let one time be enough. So what I'm going to do is put in, I'll show you some of my pottery, you guys. So I made this plate, this dinner plate. That's it's some shortening. I'm trying a different shortening. I'm not sure there's a good for you shortening, but this one's all vegetable organic shortening. And then this is butter, and it's been chilled. I had put this butter out to soften for cookies, and then I thought, oh, I need to use that for my pie crust, because I like to use part butter, part shortening. So that's half a cup of butter and a little more than a half a cup of shortening, because I'm going to try to get a couple pie crusts out of here. This is the bowl I made. It's got a C for chambers. I don't know, just thought I'd show you since I'm using them. I do actually use my dishes that I make. So I'm just stirring this with a fork to kind of lighten up the texture, but this is just all-purpose flour. And I did not make this one. I love all white, French white porcelain dishes. And then you add the butter and the shortening, and I like to just gently cut it in with a fork. You can use 2 forks for this. Oh, I forgot the salt. I don't want to forget the salt. And 1 teaspoon of salt. I know it seems like a lot, but pie crust is really bland if it doesn't have enough salt. I also think it's nice to just add a little bit of sugar. So that was a teaspoon of sugar. Here's a sugar bowl I made. We like doing these in our adult hand building class. So now I can cut everything in. So I'm going back to the pottery studio. I'm very excited. I won't start till January, but I got my contracts in the mail. And I'll tell you, if you get a chance to try working with clay, those of you who love working with fabric, manipulating fabric has kind of really helped me not miss clay so much, because it's so much fun and so many of you are so good at it. Fabric and paper, anything 3-dimensional like that, you'd be great at clay. So there's a class where you can take the wheel or do some hand building. I of course highly recommend it. I know people tell me, oh, I did it in high school or I did it in college. Well, it's a fun thing to do. Okay, so look how quickly I got like that kind of, I don't know, oatmeal-y, little tiny pea consistency. So that's good. And they say you don't want to handle it too much or it gets tough. So I am in no way a pie expert. It's just a tradition that I like to do everything from scratch for Thanksgiving. Kind of reminds me of the Pilgrims. I think I did a video last year of pie crust. I don't know if it was around the same time of year or not. I'll have to go back and check. But my sister and I, ever since we were little, like 5 and 6 years old, we would play in the backyard and pretend that we were making, I'm gonna get my tablespoon. We would pretend that we were making Thanksgiving dinner while my mom was in the house making hers. So this is just a dish of ice water. I have an ice cube in there. I'm going to put 3 tablespoons of water to start out. And the goal is to get this to clump together in a light, gentle ball. And once it's able to hold itself together, then I have enough. And I do think my problem is I often add too much water and then my pie crust gets tough or it's hard as a rock. Neither of which is good. I know people go, why do you bother? Just go buy the pie crust and it's already rolled out and in the pan. I confess I do that for some of my pies. But sometimes we have up to 15, 16 people, so I don't want to make, I just don't have time to make that many homemade pie crusts, but I'm going to add one more. I do it for the enjoyment. I really enjoy making pie crust. I like watching people make pie crust too. One of the ladies I've recently started watching is Christine. Oh, I don't remember her YouTube channel, but she's from Scotland, and she made some pastry. I just really enjoyed watching it. Okay, so here's what it looks like, and I'm sure it's gonna come together nicely now. So I'm gonna get some wax paper and my rolling pin. My sink is right behind the camera. Anyway, I was telling you how my sister and I would play in the backyard like we were making our own Pilgrim Thanksgiving meal. And it would be cold outside because it was Wisconsin, but we would get berries and branches, and I don't think we were doing mud on that day because my mother probably wouldn't have been happy, though typically mud pies were part of dinner. We probably did it anyway, knowing us. We made our turkey out of mud. But we would go and make these awesome nature-filled Thanksgiving meals with flowers on the table and everything. I think I need to break that. Oh, when I broke it, you can kind of see it's gonna probably be nice and flaky. So I guess I'm not supposed to over-handle this, so I won't. I'm just gonna put it here in a disc. I'm going to wrap this up and I'm going to chill it, and then I'm going to cut it in half and come back and roll it out. And I want to show you, I showed you this in one of my hauls. It is a little, it shapes forms for the pie crust. So I'm going to use that because I think when you do it by hand, which I've done braids and things with pie crust by hand, but I think it's over handling the dough, and I just don't want to mess with it too much. So I'm going to use this nice little mold gadget. So I'll go stick this in the fridge, and then we will wait for it to chill and roll it out and see what we get. So I'm rolling out my first round of dough, or pie crust, and what I decided to do is I'm just gonna, you know how you buy the pie crust that's rolled out and then they roll it up into like a tube shape, and then when you're ready you just unroll it right onto your pie plate. Well, that's kind of what I'm aiming for here. Just gonna roll it out. I don't want it too thin, but one thing I don't like is when the pie crust is doughy because it's too thick in the middle. So I think that's gonna fit perfectly for a 10-inch pie crust because it's definitely a 10. It would, let's see, where's my plate? Anyway, I have a 10-inch plate. I think that this will definitely fit. So what I'm going to do is just roll this up. And now I have this ready. I think I could roll that around a paper towel tube if I have one. I will have one in a minute because I'm almost out of paper towel. So I'm going to set that aside. I need a little more wax paper. And I'll do it again with the other piece of pie crust. So that disc of pie crust that I had, I just went ahead and cut it in half. So this half is going to be for the embellishments that I want to decorate the pie with. And often when I wait and bake my pies on the day of Thanksgiving, I feel rushed. So the last minute decorations, I don't know, I just don't feel like I enjoyed making them, and I like for this to be an enjoyable process. So I'm glad I'm doing it a few days early. And pie crust will keep for several days in the fridge, so I don't have to worry about it not being fresh. I don't want it to go over the edge though. There we go. Yes, dough is like an old friend of mine. So I have this nice flat disc, and I'm going to use my maple leaf cutter to make leaves that I want to put around to decorate. Of course, I have a mini maple leaf cutter somewhere that I should have taken a little more time to look for, but that's okay. 2 or 3 of these, and then a couple little acorns will be fun. This is probably gonna only be enough for one pie, but it's also good that I'm doing it early because I'm realizing that that recipe will probably be enough for one pie crust at the bottom, and then I could probably get several pieces for the decorations. And my hands are impeccably clean, just FYI. I washed, finally got all that ink off. Took a few showers and several hand washings, but I can still see a teeny bit, but not like it was. Let me get my little spatula. Don't go away, guys. There it is. My spatula. I'm gonna just lift these off. Can you see what I'm doing here at all? Nice and quiet in here today. I'm finding I have more quiet days than I'm used to, unexpectedly, but it's a good thing because then I can make my videos and chat with you all. I don't like to make videos when I have an audience. I feel a little self-conscious, and I don't know why. if I have something I need to do. It's fun to make a video, especially if you guys are interested, because then it feels more purposeful, I guess. Not that my family won't appreciate the pie, because I know they will. I have this tool here that does scoring, and I often use it for cookies, so it has a little staining from my red food coloring, so that's what you're seeing if you see that. But anyway, it has a little serrated edge, and then it has different discs that you can put in, and I'm just going to use the serrated edge to make fun little grooves to represent the lining, or veining I should say. So that's why Thanksgiving is fun for cooking. And then, like, here's a little acorn. Maybe I can get it a little bit closer so you can see. Because this is the time when we really take time and have fun decorating. Christmas we do a little fancier hors d'oeuvre kind of food. Dips and shrimp and things like that. I don't know how that'll go this year, but we'll see. Okay, so these are the little acorn toppers. And then once I get all the little embellishment pieces done, let me put them on a plate. I kind of freeze them individually so that they won't stick to each other, and that way I can stack them in a little Ziploc baggie, and then when I stick them to the edge of the pie crust, you just brush it with egg wash, and they get nice and golden brown and pretty. I'll put a few more little grooves on there. So these are just little pie crust decorations. And the acorn cap, I just put a little checkerboard on there. So that's those. Now I'm going to try out our little braided molds here and see how this goes. It's kind of hard to slide out of here. Now I've washed this and put it back in. I don't know how smart that was. But I mean, I think it's still clean. Just because I slid it back in, it should be okay. I'm going to get some flour though and dust it with some flour. Oops. Over here making a mess with flour, you guys. Sorry. I didn't mean to do that. Well, there's always a little bit of a mess waiting for me at some point. Okay. Alright, well that ended up a little messier than I anticipated, but it cleans up, so I won't worry about it. One thing I love to do with clay is make coils of clay. Some people call them snakes. I don't like snakes, so I don't call them snakes. Okay, so I'm just gonna see how this goes. So you guys who work with paper clay and air dry clay, you could do this no sweat. Because that's exactly what you could also use these for. I think they're made out of the same kind of latex, rubbery, moldy stuff. So I'm going to put one in there. Let's just get several pushed in, and then we can see how all of them will turn out. Fun, fun, fun. The rolling pin might be in the way. So to me, this is less handling of the food than trying to roll individual coils, braid them. I don't know. I think I prefer it. Now I think to do this twice in order to get the edging around the pie all the way, I think I'll need 4 of these probably to go around a full 9 or 10 inch pie. But that's perfect because I'm going to do 3 homemade pies, so I will see what this decoration looks like in all 3 of these. And I can always make more pie crust. Pie crust is wonderfully inexpensive, except for the butter part, which I discovered this is the only time of year where the butter prices tend to go down, which is awfully nice of them, but they could just keep it that way if you ask me. Of course, that's not how marketing works. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and cut this off. A sharp knife would have been better, but it's working because I think I can use this to use for the next ones. I don't know about you, but I'm a little excited to see how these are going to turn out. I've used these for clay, not this one, but a smaller one, and it even has these little beaded, that's going to be kind of like a beaded one, but it was murder trying to get that out of there, even using cornstarch. I did have students though that really took their time, something I'm not good at, and made wonderful edges. Actually, the edging on this sugar bowl was done with those little beaded molds. So I take that back. I did take my time on a couple pieces and ended up successful. I say I like putsy things, and then again, it really just depends on the day, I guess. Some days you have more patience than others. So I'm going to add this one to this beaded one. I almost think I'm going to stick this in the freezer for a minute, or the fridge, and I just want it to peel out nicely so that I don't waste my time doing all of this and then it doesn't show, or then it falls apart. So if you guys, well, you won't notice the time difference, but I'm going to go ahead and clean all of this up and stick this in the fridge to chill so that I can hopefully successfully peel these out right before your very eyes and let you see how it's gonna go. So I'm just kind of compressing these in, and I'll clean this up and I'll come back and we'll show you how they come out. So I'm back and everything is nice and chilled out of the freezer. These I put in the fridge. I thought if I put them in the freezer they might get brittle. But my idea now is with the little cutouts, pie crust cutouts, I just have a teeny bit of flour in this bag, little baggie, and I've kind of flash froze them individually, and I'm gonna just drop them in here. Ooh, and gently toss, Carla. Oh, I didn't break any, thank goodness. They're frozen nicely. So I'm just gently tossing some of that flour, and then I'm going to take the excess out so that when I get them out of the freezer, I don't want them to glue together. So the only thing is when you get them out of the freezer, You gotta keep an eye on them so that they don't glue together. You gotta kind of pull them out before they're stuck back together. But now I can stick them in the freezer like this, and they should stay nice and formed, and it's small enough to not take up too much space. So I'm gonna go throw these in right now. And then the other thing is I used up my paper towel, so I ended up with a paper towel roll. So I rolled my pie crust for my 10-inch pie pan around the tube, and I just tucked the wax paper in the edges, and just gonna take my plastic wrap and it's already wrapped in wax paper, but for freshness I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it in plastic wrap. And being on the tube like this, it won't take up as much space either. So there, I have one down and two to go. One second. So I can just store these side by side now because this is nice and firm and it's not going to collapse. Plus it's on the tube of paper towel, cardboard tube. So I'll go stick this one in the freezer. And then the last thing, so I'm going to get those pie crust crumbs off of there. And I'm going to sort of dust this a little bit, and we'll see how these come out. Cross your fingers. They're coming out great. Yay. Oops, that one did. I don't know about these. Oh, these are breaking. Uh-oh, 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 uh-oh. Okay. Well, I always say, I can fix it. Yes, I can. I'm not too much worried about these, because they can always soften up and then be pieced back around. But oh, they're so pretty. Okay, these little ones are probably going to be a waste of my time and certainly my patience. I probably sound like I'm one of the most impatient people in the world, but actually everybody tells me I'm extremely patient. I do try. These are coming out okay. You just have to do it slowly. Yeah, I'll be able to piece these around a pie plate nicely. Now I haven't decided how to store these yet. I'm sure I'm not going to toss them in a baggie of flour because I think they're too fragile for that. But look at how pretty the impression came out. Beautifully. I love the braid and the twist, and I love the beads. So, oh, I'm getting ahead of the game with my homemade baking, and you guys have helped me have a reason to get started early, so thanks. I'm going to try and put this in and see if it works again. Let's see if we can make one more little length of the beaded one. That braid is just beautiful. I'd do it by hand if it were clay, but since it's not, I love this gadget. It was well worth it. Okay, so let's peel this one out. Yeah, it peels out better if it's soft, you guys. Just FYI. It got too brittle when it was cold. So there they are again. This is the gadget, and it's by Wilton Pie Crust Mold, and they give you fun ideas on the back of how to use it. So I've got my little embellishments and 1 pie crust down, 2 to go. I'm going to leave you now, but thank you so much for watching. I hope you have some reason to bake a fun pie or make a pie crust. You might not want to trust my recipe, but there's wonderful ones out there, and if you have a good one, oh, do share, because I love getting fail-proof as possible pie crust. So everyone have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching. Bye.